Welcome everyone to the latest installment of the Porton webinar series. My name is Colin Parker and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar, the 30-minute mobile SEO audit with George Freitag, who's our resident expert on mobile SEO here at Porton. We would love it if you would all join in on this webinar. There are a couple of ways you can do that as always. One is by asking your questions within the questions pane of GoToWebinar, and the other is by tweeting your questions using the hashtag PortonU. So that's #PortonU. And just so you all know, in case you miss out on any of today's webinar or you want to review it later, don't worry, tomorrow you will get a follow-up email which will contain a link to this recorded webinar, a SlideShare link to the presentation slides, and because Bitly no longer does link bundles, in a couple of days we'll be sending out a blog post which will contain all of the links to the resources that George will be referencing in his webinar. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming George. Hey George.
Thanks, Colin. All right, so like Colin said, what we're going to be talking about today is mobile SEO. Specifically, we're going to be doing one of our 30-minute audits. So what that means is that we're not going to be covering everything there is to know about mobile and mobile SEO under the sun. We're going to be focusing on how to take a look at your mobile site and the traffic and identify opportunities for growth, see if there's any issues with your mobile site, and see if you've been affected by the recent Google mobile algorithm update, which is what I suspect a lot of you are here for today. And then most importantly, how to prioritize that into a list of actionable items once you're all done. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. But before we get too far, here's the hashtag. So like Colin said, if you want to participate, just throw any questions you have at that hashtag on Twitter, and we will answer them afterwards. That's also what we'll be using when we tweet out the webinar slide deck and the blog post later on. And then really quick about me, my name is George Freitag. I am an SEO strategist here at Porton. We are a digital marketing company in Seattle located on the 17th floor of one of the oldest skyscrapers on the West Coast. Next month will be 3 years for me here at Porton, and I've been doing SEO for much longer than that. But enough about me. Let's go on to get started about mobile, and we're going to start really basic here, and just to make sure that everyone is on the same page right from the beginning, we're going to talk about what we mean by mobile. And it's not this example of mobile, but in this case, it is the reason why I wanted to go in detail about what we mean by mobile is just because it's not some sort of esoteric question. It's exactly what Google and Bing define as mobile, which is these. So this is all, these are the mobile devices as opposed to tablet devices and then of course desktops. But mobile devices for the purpose of this discussion, and the reason why is because this is the categories that Google uses, includes all smartphones, up to including the larger smartphones like the iPhone 6 and those large galaxies that are about the size of a human face, sometimes called phablets, but not by me. But it does not include the tablets. So those are actually not considered mobile devices by the search engines. And in relationship to the recent Google mobile algorithm update, tablets are not affected. They're considered desktop because the experience on a tablet is closer to a desktop with its larger screen. And you can see that. So what we're looking for specifically is mobile friendliness, and how to determine whether or not a site is mobile friendly and to see whether or not that's affecting you. Right here we've got two phone screenshots of Google and Bing. Both of them are notating mobile friendly. Bing has not announced a mobile algorithm update like Google has, but there's probably something in the works. And then just for reference, this is an iPad, a tablet search result, and as you can see, there's no mobile-friendly notation right there. So that's, even though the search looks different, it's still going off of the desktop algorithm. We're going to spend some time really briefly going over why search is important on mobile. Here is a breakdown of search queries by the billion in Q4 of 2014 compared to the previous year from ComScore. As you can see, desktop is by far the biggest, but it is actually going down. So it was 45.7 billion searches in 2013. It went down slightly to 45.5. Mobile, in fact, is going up from 10.8 billion to 12.6. And another thing to keep in mind here is that people tend to do more searches when they're on desktop. So there's a lot more searches on desktop, but part of that is because when you have a keyboard in front of you, you're going to be typing out your searches. You're more likely to refine it, spend some time sort of specifying and drilling down to exactly what you're like. Whereas if you're on a phone, you're not going to be spending as many time tapping away on that keyboard. And so you actually have less opportunities to get in front of your audience on mobile. And one of the reasons why that's important to get in front of your audience on mobile is because people by far are spending more and more time on their mobile device in relationship to desktop. So this is breaking down how much time people spend on a device when they're on their internet, and as you can see, mobile's going up, desktop is going down. Now, to be fair, this is also from ComScore, which is available online, and we'll link to this report in the bundle. Now, to be fair, apps are taking up a significant percentage of that, but still, that is the device that people are on. So if you want an opportunity to get in front of the right faces, you're going to have to be on mobile. There's also this thing. So this is the humble announcement from Google about their Google mobile-friendly update. So this was in a rare move from Google. They actually announced this ahead of time and flat out said that a ranking boost was going to be given to mobile devices. So if your page shows up as mobile-friendly, then it's going to get a ranking boost for mobile searches. There is also another name that you might have heard of it if you've been following the SEO community, and if you look at the number of Google Plus shares at the time of this screenshot, it sort of foreshadows what the other term you may have heard about it, and that's mobile-geddon. So, or mobile apocalypse, which is harder to say, which is why I wrote mobile-geddon here. But that was, how it's been described by a lot of people, which is the end of everything as we know it, since there's a new algorithm taking care of that's going to take away all the mobile searches. We'll be looking at how accurate that actually is here in a couple seconds. But regardless, mobile-geddon happened. It happened last Tuesday, and now we're in the new era. So here is Max with who's actually holding a phablet himself, which I must have missed the first time I saw that movie. But here we are in the post-apocalyptic mobile-geddon world. So what does that mean? So let's go over the Google mobile algorithm really quick. There's good news and bad news about it. The good news is that it affects mobile searches, and so it's not affecting desktop searches, only affecting mobile searches. It's really focused on that. It's a page-by-page test, and so that means it assigns that on a page level. So if you have most of your site is mobile friendly, is not mobile friendly, you can actually just optimize the pages that need it and focus on those landing pages where you have the best opportunity with mobile if you want. It's also a simple pass-fail test. So there's not a whole lot of gray area there. There's some really specific factors that Google's looking for, and they're very public about it. There's a mobile-friendly test online that we'll show later that will just flat out tell you whether or not you pass it. The other thing is that lots of sites have failed. So there's lots of websites that have failed. We'll look at how many here in a second, but that's the good news. The bad news is that it affects mobile searches, and so if you're not if you're looking at mobile as a source of traffic, it's going to impact you. It's affecting all mobile searches. The other thing is that it's a page-by-page test. So that means if 95% of your site is all mobile friendly, those 5% of the pages that aren't, those are not going to get the benefit that the rest of the site is getting from the mobile test. So you have to make sure that every single page on it, provided that they're important to your mobile strategy or your organic strategy, passes that mobile test. It's a simple pass-fail test. That means you could be 99% correct and miss a couple things and you'll fail it. It's either a yes/no. You're either mobile-friendly or you're not. Again, there's no gray area, so that can be one of the problems with it. And lots of sites have failed. Again, we'll take a look at how many here in a second. But it's a good possibility that you might be failing and not knowing it. That's one of the things that we'll look at diagnosing here today. We actually did a study on this, so the Google mobile apocalypse. And what we did is that we looked at 25,000 of the top websites determined by Majestic and Alexa, and determined whether or not they were mobile friendly, and found that about 10,000 of them failed. So that's a pretty good number of sites. That is dropping pretty steadily as more and more people become mobile friendly. But that's a significant amount of people that are missing out on this mobile opportunity. Some brief information about the mobile update. It's only been about 2 days, and so information is still rolling in, but one of the companies that did some research is Advanced Web Ranking, or AWR. They noticed just a 12% increase in visibility for mobile-friendly websites compared to about a week earlier. So as over the past week, there's been a slight increase in the visibility, so that just means how often they are showing up in search results. Moz did its own test. They just looked for URLs on the first page that are mobile friendly. And again, they found a slight increase. So from 66.3 from a couple weeks ago to 70.1%. Not much of an increase, but again, you're just kind of starting on the mobile update. It's probably going to be rolled out over some time. And this tells me a couple things. First of all, that again, it's going to be rolling out over the course of time. We're not done with it yet. Secondly, is that this probably actually started a little bit before Tuesday. That was their date of the announcement, but I think it's pretty likely that they've been working on this for a while, and I think it'll be continued. They'll continue to fine-tune it as it goes along. So there's that. So enough about all that boring data. Let's get on with the audit. So again, this is not going to be the complete everything there is to know about mobile, or what there is to know about mobile SEO. This is going to be focusing on what there is opportunities for improvement and how to identify areas where you could identify opportunities for improvement with your mobile strategy. We're going to be looking at it from really two sides. The way that from what I've talked to clients and from what I have experienced, there's really two sort of situations. So either case one, your site isn't mobile friendly, but you want it to be, or case two, you think your site's mobile friendly and you want to be sure. This audit's going to cover sort of both of those scenarios and what you can look for, so you can report on that. And where we're going to start is actually not on the website at all, but we're going to be starting by looking at your traffic. And so we're going to be looking at the analytics to see how people are using your site right now, where they're coming from, and what pages they're going to, and what sort of devices. Just so, for example, we're going to look at how this group of multiracial millennials are all getting to your website. And we're going to start in Google Analytics. I'm going to be using Google Analytics for most of the examples, but you can do almost all of this in Adobe Analytics, Omniture, and Gore Metrics as well. But just for the purpose of this, we're going to be showing mostly Google Analytics. And the place we're going to start is just looking for changes in mobile traffic, or specifically organic traffic from mobile devices. And we're going to start the timer for the 30-minute audit. This is going to be about 8 minutes when you do it. It may be a little bit longer, but that's what we are estimating. But we're going to spend about 8 minutes looking for changes in mobile traffic. So there's a couple ways to do that. If you're in Google Analytics a lot, you may have noticed this mobile overview tab. This breaks down the traffic by device, desktop, mobile, and tablet. In those three categories, tablet is cut off at the bottom of the screen. But this is really, really useful. What you can do is that you're going to filter it. So if you're looking to see whether or not your site was impacted by the recent algorithm update, you can take the last week of traffic. This screenshot was taken before the update, so you'll have to ignore the actual dates. But you can take the last week of traffic compared to the previous week, and then you get a clean snapshot of whether or not there was any sort of significant change by device. And so what you're looking for is that if whether or not there is a drop in mobile that is not reflected in desktop and tablet. So if desktop and tablet traffic are running strong, totally consistent, but there's a drop in mobile, that might be something that you want to look for. So that's one way, just to get a really quick top-level view, but there's actually a better way. And so I do recommend spending a couple seconds going through that just to get a snapshot. But what I want to do is look at it from page level and see exactly what pages are being affected by the mobile update, or which pages specifically have mobile opportunities. So to do that, we're actually going to go to the landing page section of Google Analytics. once we're there, we're going to segment out two sections of mobile. So there's mobile traffic and tablet and desktop traffic with it, and that's just for reference, so you can compare the two. And so you're going to do that in the segment section. And then we're going to take that mobile and that mobile traffic and break it down even further, so we're just seeing organic traffic. So you're going to do that by adjusting your secondary dimension. And so you're going to change your secondary dimension to medium, so you select that from the drop-down menu. Then you're going to go to advanced options on the right-hand side, and then include medium exactly matching organic. And so then what you end up with is a clean list of all the landing pages filtered exclusively to organic traffic from mobile devices. And again, what you're looking for is drops in mobile that are not reflected in tablet and desktop, or just changes. And again, this is at a page level, so now you can look at the actual pages and see whether or not there's some specific pages that were affected differently, or some specific pages where there's a big opportunity for growth if you're not worried about that you actually lost traffic in the mobile algorithm update. You're just looking for opportunities. This is a great place to do that as well. Once you have that list, you can prioritize pages by traffic drops. And so this is going to look at every single page, and then you can sort them by depending on what you're looking for. You can either sort them by traffic drop, or you can sort them just by overall sessions or users. If you're in Adobe, this is actually a little bit easier. So this is one of the things that Adobe actually makes a little bit simpler by the way it applies segments. And so in Adobe, you would go to, if you're in Adobe or Omniture, you would go to your entry pages as shown here. This is where they are, but you can also search for them. And then the way that Adobe applies segments is it actually layers them on top of each other. So whereas Google Analytics will show you separate lines for each segment that you select, Adobe will layer them on top of each other. So instead of having to go through the secondary dimension, you're just going to select natural search traffic and visits from mobile phones, and hit apply, and then you've got a clean report of everything, of all natural traffic from mobile phones in Adobe Analytics. So that's actually pretty handy. What you're going to do with that is that you're just going to export that, and we're going to save that for later. You're going to export that nice list that you have from Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics of all the landing pages with the specific mobile organic traffic, also with the traffic changes that have happened week over week. If you want, in Google Analytics, you can also go a little bit further and do sort type by absolute change, and that will actually just go ahead and sort them by URLs that have the biggest change. So if you are worried about the mobile update and algorithm update, this is a good way just to get a quick snapshot from that. The next thing we're going to do is use a new feature, a relatively new feature in Google Analytics, and compare how much compare your mobile search traffic by industry. And we're going to do this with a feature called benchmarking. This doesn't take very long if you already have it enabled, but it's really, really useful for just getting a good sense of how you're sizing up with other websites in your industry. It is something that you have to activate. So we'll include a link to this, but it's pretty simple. You just go to your Google Analytics account, click admin, and you have to say, select anonymously share your information with Google, as if you have a choice on that anyways. But that's how you turn that on. So once you've enabled that, then you get this new report called benchmarking. And this is really cool. So what you can do is you can break it down by device. You're going to select your market, your industry, and it can get very specific. And so there's a couple pre-populated things in the drop-down menu, but you can actually search for your specific industry. So here I are on the important Google Analytics website. We're actually just narrowing this down by search engine optimization marketing companies. So that's really how specific you can get. Once you're there, you can specify it by region, going down to state if you want. In this case, we're just going to do United States. And then you're going to do size by daily sessions. And so you're just going to enter how many sessions you typically get on a day. And then what you end up with is this comparison of how you size up to other websites in your industry. It's a great way, especially with this, in terms of this mobile update, to see where you stand compared to other websites in your industry. Because as you know, ranking is relative, and so if you're already dominating the market, then you might not need to invest as much time in mobile. But if you can see, if it looks like that a lot of other businesses in your industry and websites in your industry are getting a much higher percentage of mobile traffic than you are, then it's an opportunity to sort of build the case and demonstrate the lost value. So so now we've done Google Analytics. Now we're going to hop over to Google Webmaster Tools, and we're going to check query data and spend about 5 minutes doing that. So the way that the place that you go there is in Google Webmaster Tools, a section called Search Queries. And you're going to be looking for drops in queries, but again, we want to filter that specifically to mobile users and just find just the information that's really, really useful to you. So again, we're going to filter, and so we're going to start up here in the filter section for the query section. The first thing you want to do is get rid of your brand name, just because that's going to throw off any sort of snapshots. You're going to rank for your brand name unless your brand name is like pants, in which case you got a bigger problem. But you are going to want to filter by brand name because you're going to rank for that and you're going to get traffic for that and impressions and clicks regardless of whether or not you're mobile friendly. If there's no one else is generally going to be competing for your brand name, it's just going to throw off these metrics. So do go ahead and make sure that you filter that out by saying queries don't contain your brand name. You want to filter the search to mobile, so this way you're only going to see queries and impressions that are coming off of mobile devices. And then again, if what you're looking for is the impact from the recent change, click with change. And so what this will do is that this will show you the queries that have generated impressions and clicks to your website, and show how they've changed in a week over week or however long you set the date range session. That way you can see whether or not there have been significant drops. And for the mobile algorithm update, for example, one thing you might want to pay a lot of attention towards is a decrease in clicks without that's higher than the decrease in impressions, meaning that you might be showing up, but you might be showing up a little bit lower, or you don't have that mobile friendly tag, and so people just aren't clicking on it as often as other sites in that search result, because they know that they're not going to get the user experience they're looking for. Another thing that you can do here is go to top pages. This is similar to the queries. It just is sorting it by pages. This is less useful just because it doesn't export that well, but it is good for taking a quick look at how specific queries can be correlated to specific pages on the website. When you go here, you got to reapply all the same filters, which is sort of irritating. And again, you're just looking for drops, and then you can drill down by specific queries on page names if you want to. And then, I'm sorry, the one thing that you do want to do that I don't think I mentioned here was you do want to download this table data from the query report, because that's another thing that we're going to be saving for later. This is just your list of search terms that have generated impressions and clicks and from mobile devices. So now that we've got all of our analytics, we're going to get set on making the page actually mobile friendly. And so here we've got a very friendly mobile device that I got for my stock. So this right here, we want to see whether or not your site actually is mobile friendly, and this is going to be more useful to people who have websites that already have a mobile site design in place, a mobile solution in place, and just want to make sure. If you don't have one at all, then this is going to be less useful, but it's still, you want to, I'm going to be going over some common pitfalls in this section, and then once you do get your site up and running, you want to go ahead and follow through these steps. And so a lot of times you might be sitting here and you already have your mobile solution in place. You've already made a responsive website, and you're like this guy, you're looking at your website, it's looking great, but then you actually go to the mobile friendly test and you find out that it's not mobile friendly. And this might be your reaction. This is my homage to the new trailer that came out. It's also a very long GIF, so we'll wait for it to finish. And there. So to do that on a macro level, we're going to do the mobile usability test within Google Webmaster Tools. And so this is how you're going to check on a large scale whether or not your how many pages you have that pass the mobile friendly test, how many of them are being recognized as mobile friendly, and diagnose what the issues are. You're going to do that by clicking here where the little here button is, and it's going to take you to a summary page. Where it's going to list off all the potential issues. Now there's going to be a lot of crossover here. So for example, those 17 examples with small font sizes are probably being covered in those 19 examples for viewport not configured. So usually what you want to do is just click on the largest number here, and then what you get is just a list of exact pages that are failing a mobile-friendly test. So here you have all the pages that Google for some reason has identified as not being mobile-friendly. And this can be very useful since there can be a lot of one-off things that can occur within a website that make some pages not appear mobile-friendly, even if they are part of a responsive design or have some sort of mobile solution in place. Once you click on it, you can get a rundown of the specific issue. Google points you to specific guidelines or resources to fix the problem, but you do want to check the live version. This takes you right again to that mobile-friendly test. And as you've noticed, I haven't given out mentioned this as a page by page. This is a tool that is available online. You can just do a search for Google mobile-friendly test, and it will take you here. But again, the mobile algorithm is a page-by-page test, and so it's really more helpful to do it from Webmaster Tools where you can test it as a macro level. But you do want to spot check it just because sometimes it's just plain wrong. So make sure that when you go in here, you spot check it, see if it's really failing the mobile-friendly test. If it is, then take note of it, and if not, then you kind of have less to worry about. Once you're here, you're going to go to this list and you're going to download that as well so you can save that for later. Now we're going to take a quick pause from the audit just to go over some common mobile-friendly issues. We've already, throughout my experience, there's been a lot of things that have that are really pretty common when coming up with when determining whether or not something mobile is friendly, and in relationship to the to issues that cause the site to not be mobile friendly. There's some things that come up pretty often. So basically what we're looking for here is in search there's basically two ways that mobile solutions are interpreted, and there's either a single URL solution or a separate URL solution, and both of them have their unique problems. I'm going to go over the most common problems with each of these so you just know what to look for. So for a single URL problem, this is going to be responsive or dynamic serving. So responsive design, I think you all know about. That's where the HTML the page layout fluctuates for the screen size. Or dynamic serving, it's the same URL, but it's still serving different content. The main problem here is that you think you got a mobile-friendly site, but Google doesn't. One thing you do want to look for if this happens is blocked resources. This is by far the most common misstep that happens, culprit for non-mobile friendliness on an otherwise mobile-friendly website. What you want to look for is in the robot text files, if there's any sort of disallow, as described above, of CSS or JavaScript resources. Google needs that CSS to render the site and see whether or not it's mobile-friendly. And so it's really important that you don't block that. This is particularly frustrating just because that used to be a common practice to limit the amount of time Google spent crawling the website, was to block it. And so you're doing a total reversal on what the best practices were. But now you don't want to block it. And the other problem with this is that it's even true with CDN. So if you use a content delivery network to distribute your CSS or JavaScript resource, you're going to need to contact them if you don't control it and ask them to not block it so Google can render your site. On a page-by-page level, the most common thing for common reason for failing the mobile-friendly test is non-scaling images and videos. So you might have an image that was not assigned the proper CSS property to be responsive. That's very common, in which case you would have to contact your developer. The other one is old YouTube links. So if you have an old YouTube, embedded YouTube video that uses the object attribute, you're going to all you need to do is go to YouTube, the same video again, and just grab the new embed code and put that in there, and that's typically responsive. There's also this great site called Embed Responsively that is really easy just for quick hack solutions to get an object responsive, and you can usually just paste that in there. It generates the script for you, the code for you, and you just paste that on your website, and you can typically just be good to go there. Some other culprits are button sizing and font sizing and viewport configurations, all of which, again, this is not a developer webinar, so I'm not going to go into detail, partially because it takes up a lot of time, but also because I'm not going to explain it as well as Google does on their website specifically. So if you go to Web Fundamentals, they give great descriptions and instructions on how to solve these issues. With separate URLs, so this is when you have got two separate URLs for your desktop and your mobile site. What happens here, the most common issue here, is that Google can't actually find the mobile version of a page. And for this, there's another very straightforward way to make sure that happens. So as you can see, Google can't find it. But that's by using a combination of the canonical tag and a rel alternate tag for the mobile version of the page. The canonical tag is probably something that a lot of people have already heard about. Basically, it's your way of telling the search engine what version of a URL you want them to index. So what you want to do is you want to pick your desktop URL, which should already have a canonical tag on it that points to itself, points to the version of the page that you want indexed, and you want to use that same canonical tag on the mobile version of the site. So basically you got your mobile version of a page and your desktop version of the page, and both of them are pointing to the desktop version of the page and telling Google, this is the URL that we want indexed. These are the exact same pages with the exact same content. They're just located at these different URLs. So that's the first step you want to do, is make sure both of them have the canonical tag. Then on the desktop URL, you want to use this rel alternate tag to point to the mobile version. That way you can be sure that Google sees the mobile version and recognizes it and indexes it and sends mobile visitors to that proper destination. If you've been doing this for a few years, you might have heard at some point a mobile XML sitemap. That's actually not supported anymore. I would not recommend spending time making a mobile XML sitemap. It's just kind of a waste of time at this point. But what you can do is you can annotate your normal XML sitemap. So if you have an XML sitemap that describes all the pages on a website, you can point to it. You can use this chunk of code. It's pretty similar to the rel alternate at the page level, and you just include this in your sitemap, and it can be another way to point the search engines to the proper URL. Now let's go down to making a plan. So we have all of this information, and we want to turn that into some action items. So the last 5 minutes of the audit that you're doing really quick are going to be spent one of two ways. So basically you've got two scenarios. Maybe you went through all the steps, you looked at that mobile usability test in Webmaster Tools and found that you only had a few specific URLs to fix. You know, maybe 12, maybe 50 or 100. Those are workable numbers. So now you want to figure out what you need to do, or send it to a developer and get a prioritized list together to solve that problem. So what we're going to do is get a list of URLs and prioritize them to fix them. So first you're going to take that list of mobile issue URLs you downloaded from Webmaster Tools. You're going to match that to a landing page export from Analytics. So now you've got the list of pages with mobile problems. You've got analytics data giving the amount of traffic going to these pages from organic and the amount of conversions going to them from organic. And you can just do a VLOOKUP on the mobile URL problem list and get a nice clean look of which URLs are the most urgent. So you're going to want to then prioritize it by sessions or conversions, and then you've got a list of URLs to fix in order based on importance. And so that's a really easy way just to get a quick list of action items, and then you can go through each one of these in order, identify the issues, and solve them. The other half is that maybe you've got a ton of URLs and you need to fix them all. So you need to build a case to either justify building a mobile site or fixing everything on a large scale level. So you're not going to go and get a list of 5,000 pages and fix those one by one. You're going to need to think of a larger scale level. The first thing to look at is just to see whether it's a simple site-wide issue. So in this case, a robot.txt block, like I discussed earlier, or that rel alternate tag referring to mobile, those are probably the best case scenarios here, because those are pretty easy, and you point those to a developer, they can fix them pretty quickly. If you need justification and there's more to do, what you're going to do is just going to build a case for it, and you're going to use the reports that we all just downloaded here. So again, this is not actually going to probably take you 5 minutes, but it would take you 5 minutes just to get all of this data and collect it together so you can work on, so you've got everything you need to start building the case to emphasize the importance of mobile. And what you're going to do is first, you're going to take that analytics report that you download and show lost revenue and traffic from mobile devices. So now you've already got this clean report that's showing how much traffic and revenue are coming from desktop and tablet, and you're going to compare that to mobile. You've got a very clean, straightforward way of demonstrating that on a page level. Then you're going to use benchmarking and show how you size up to other businesses and websites in your industry. This way you can show, hey, we are, when it comes to desktop and tablet, we're on par with everyone, but we're missing out on a huge opportunity with mobile based on this. You're going to use query and impression data from Google Webmaster Tools to show a lost opportunity or potential opportunity. So what this is giving you the actual queries that are out there, and how many impressions you're getting, and whether you can see whether or not those are turning into clicks, or whether or not you're missing out on opportunity there. And then once you're done, you're going to take that mobile usability test and check your work. Or you can use it to show how it's a problem. Showing a big spike in Google Webmaster Tools that lists off all the problems can be a great tool in demonstrating how important it is for you to get your site mobile friendly. I'm going to go through 3 bonus things. So what the audit went over was just how to build a case for it, what to look for, and how to diagnose specific issues. But there are 3 things related to mobile that I can't not mention, just because there's such great opportunities, and I'm going to just mention them briefly so you can research them yourself. The first one is schema.org, with the most boring website in the world, but it is so incredibly useful, and I do recommend doing some research on it because you can do some great things within mobile. One of them is site name markup, and so right here, doing a search for wetsuits, you can see the actual brand name of the website showing up as opposed to the domain. That's a huge brand. Within mobile search results, you're dealing with such small real estate that anything you can do to make your search results stand out is worth doing, and this is one straightforward thing that you can research and do. It's just called site name markup in schema. Another schema markup is the breadcrumb. So looking at the same search result, here we've got a clean breadcrumb navigation showing what page you're going to in relationship to the website, as opposed to this one, which is just listing off the URLs, or even worse, the eBay one below, which who knows what that means. Another one is review markup, and so you can just, here, if you aren't in e-commerce, this is definitely worth doing. I mean, how much more does that result stand out compared to the ones below? It's got stars on it. Another thing you want to be sure to look at is page speed. So one reason is that Google is actually trying out a warning for mobile searches. This is just sort of shown up sporadically, but it's something they're playing around with that warns people that they're about to go to a slow site. But the reason why they're doing that is because page speed is just important on its own for lots of different reasons. We've written lots of posts on how much it impacts conversion, how much it impacts behavior, but also when people are on mobile devices, they're on slower connections typically, and so that page speed can make a big difference in convincing someone to go to your website and stay on your website. And for that, Google PageSpeed Insights actually has a built-in tool that just tests speed from a mobile perspective as well as a desktop perspective, and it gives you, and it even tells you what to do. So that's definitely a tool to look into. And lastly, anything local. So local is another topic that you could give an entire webinar on. In fact, I have. But local results always show up if it's relevant. They're always going to show up in the top results. And so basically, there's lots of things you can do, but the first thing you need to do with local is just get on a Google business listing together, so you can at least show up that much. And so now that we've done everything, so you've gotten your site together, you've got them up with a prioritized list, you've identified all the problems, you've built a case for it, you have a list of things you need to work on. You also have some ideas for the future, including schema and local and page speed. You got it. You did it. So congratulations on doing your 30-minute mobile SEO audit. So thanks. My name is George Freitag. Again, here's my contact information. Ignore that bit.ly link at the bottom because we'll be sending out an email with everything later.
Thank you, George. That was extremely informative. So now don't forget that all the resources George referenced here will be available. We're going to send that blog post out in a couple of days in lieu of the bit.ly link bundle. We're going to open it up now for questions and answers. We've had a few come in throughout, as well as some positive feedback. We'll get to all of that in just a second. Remember, you can tweet your questions directly via Twitter using the hashtag #PortantU, or you can open them up in the questions pane of GoToWebinar. So let's open it up. The first one I just want to acknowledge is from Andrea. Thank you, Andrea, for the compliment. She said this was one of the best webinars that she's been to. The information was absolutely great in a way that you could take back and action off of immediately. All right, so first question comes from Jake. Is it enough to use the rel canonical and rel alternate on their own, or do you need to do that combination and force a redirect for users? So it might be good to put that in context of mobile, but I think it's a great question.
Yeah. So the rel canonical and the rel alternate tags are for Google with their indexation. And so what you're doing, those are instructions to search engines. We can just using just the rel canonical as an example. That's an instruction to search engines telling them how to index the page and where the content actually belongs. It's not actually giving any instructions to the browser. You still need to do a redirect. So in this case, yes, you do need to do both. If you just do the canonical and rel alternate tags, it'll probably work from search engines, so it would keep the index up to date for Google, but you're not doing anything for the people who actually visit the website directly for whatever reason, or doing referrals from other websites. So you're not helping them from a user for a non-search perspective. So yes, you do need to do both.
Okay, our next question comes from Steve. So we have parts of our site that are failing the mobile-friendly test. Will that really not impact the rankings of our regular site, and could it in the future?
Yeah, so the mobile algorithm update is specifically geared towards mobile searches, and so what this is that it's just giving a direct boost to pages that are mobile-friendly. So it does not have a direct impact on desktop views, but in the long term, I mean, if having a mobile-friendly page results in more shares, more engagement, and more links, then that in turn would affect desktop. And so I would say it has a definite indirect effect, because by making a page mobile friendly, you're making it more appealing to users and generally making it more useful. And when you make it more useful and more shareable, that's going to affect it at all levels in SEO.
That's a perfect answer. Our next question is from Mary. Looks like, so Mary says, we've still got a lot of our site failing the mobile friendly tests because of a developer backlog, so too much to get done. Is there a best way to triage what to fix first?
Yes, I mean, that's the best way to do that is sort of go through the steps that I outline above and take that, go to Google Webmaster Tools, take that list of mobile issues, download that, reference it to traffic and conversion data from Google Analytics, and then you've got a really clean list of what you need to work on first. So obviously the pages that get the most traffic or drive the highest amount of conversions, those are going to be the first ones you have to fix, and then you kind of go down the line based on need.
That's great. I'm guessing that Mary's not the only one with that question if you're at a bigger company. Next question is from Paul. Do you think that page speed or site performance has more impact on mobile ranking than it does on desktop?
That's a pretty big question. I would not know where to Yeah, where to start with that? It probably will be. So Google's been very, the search engines have not been very public on what impact page speed has on their search results. Both Google and Bing say that it has impact on it and it is important. And beyond using those phrases that it's important and has influence, there's not really much on it. I would imagine that they would give more, being that they're playing around with labeling, giving snippets and search results on mobile devices based on page speed. It's probably something they're looking at to incorporate more thoroughly. Incorporating that mobile-friendly tag in search results was the first sign that Google was about to do something algorithmically to their search results, and so I would not be surprised if it was sort of the same line of thought with the page speed.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect answer. And to add to that, we talk a lot about distance from perfect, and I think that you could probably split those to, you want to be as close to perfect as possible for a mobile user experience, Paul, and you want to be as close to perfect as possible for a desktop experience. They may not be they may not be mutually exclusive yet, but Google will for sure be looking for ways to say this is just a better overall quality site, which is part of why there's no exact checklist for everything that you need to get done. It's just making sure that it's as clean, fast, and usable as possible. Our next question is coming in from Twitter, and this is a great philosophical/research question. This is from Craig. Why haven't I seen a change in the Google rankings after 421? Same search results as before. And Craig, I know it's tough. We've only got a short number of characters. I'm curious what sort of search results you're looking at. But George, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you think this might play out, just prognosticating a little bit.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, so for that, we don't know what the effects are for the Google algorithm update. It was a big deal, largely because Google announced it ahead of time, and it's been sort of a long time coming. So that alone would cause a lot of momentum. There is some speculation that they just did it in order to motivate people to make their sites mobile friendly, since that is something that people just generally are looking for. And so if more sites out there are mobile friendly, it actually improves Google's product because it allows them to serve better results to their users. So, but again, we don't know the results yet. Some early, we're only a couple days in. One thing that I would say is pretty certain is that it wasn't just a switch. So it's not like they checked out the algorithm and then checked it back in on 421 that just did a across-the-board update to all mobile. It's probably being rolled out, and it's probably has been rolled out for over the last couple weeks, and will continue to be fine-tuned and rolled out over the next couple weeks. We'll be monitoring it. Lots of other companies are monitoring it as well. But yeah, so far across the board, the changes have been pretty minimal. But I think the reason why you didn't see a change like that is just because there wasn't a big switch. That's why in the reporting section I was focusing mostly on something that you could repeat and do ongoing from a week-over-week level to a month-over-month level, and I think that's going to be a little bit more useful in the long term rather than just doing this once on 422.
That's a great answer, George, and I think you actually got into a little bit of the answer to our next question, but we've got one from a great friend of Portland, David. David asks, to what extent do you think that Google is, just doing what's good for Google by instilling fear in webmasters to, go mobile or else, or is this really a good move for consumers overall?
Hi, David. I think it can be, I think it's worth speculating that this might just be a move to motivate web users to go mobile, because again, if more websites are mobile friendly, then it improves Google's mobile product, because their flagship product is their search, which is sending people to other search results. So they're really sort of leaning on good search results and relevant search results as a way to improve their own product. So I think that is relevant. I think that there was some data that there was like a 5% ever since they made the update. I mean, they made the announcement that they're going to update the algorithm to give preferential treatment to mobile-friendly web pages. I think there's around a 5% increase in just the amount of sites that were mobile-friendly. So it's definitely working. I would imagine that they are algorithmically boosting sites anyways, just because it would make sense for them to do that just from a business standpoint. So I don't know, I kind of danced around it, but I think a combination of both. No. Oh, look, you can answer a couple more.
So let's take a couple of last questions here before we wrap up. Just looking at this really quickly. Actually, it looks like we may have worked through the last of the questions here. I'm going to check Twitter one more time. Okay, and it looks like we have one last from Amy. Amy asks, how long from disappearing from search rankings do you think it would take before we recovered once we actually do pass the mobile-friendly test?
That's actually a great question, and something I did not get a chance to address in the webinar, but it's actually very quick. And so if you are able to make your site mobile, make a page mobile friendly, it's going to get logged as it's a live tag and a live feature that Google offers. And so it'll so if you make your page mobile friendly, if you pass everything, if and do everything you can, then next time Google crawls it, it'll be labeled as mobile friendly, and then in theory you would receive the boost. One thing you can do to sort of speed that up is that you can use Google Webmaster Tools to resubmit a specific page using their fetch and render feature. So you go put the page in there. Google will crawl it again. That's basically a request for Google to crawl it again. And if it sees that it's mobile friendly, then you should be in good shape pretty instantaneously.
That's a great question. Thanks for that, Amy. I'm sure a lot of folks are actually asking that now. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. Good news is you're going to be able to join us next month for our May webinar, which is Optimizing Dynamic Websites for SEO with Ken Colburn. If your site or your friend's site has any sort of dynamic elements, whether that's JavaScript or other, that's going to be one not to miss for sure. We may come back and revisit some of the questions that were asked here today in the blog, and if there's enough demand, we may actually look at doing a clinic for folks who want to come in and ask some questions directly of George afterwards. So if you're thinking that's a good idea, maybe give us a shout on Twitter and use that hashtag #PortantU to let us know whether that would be something you're interested in. Not that anyone on this call needs that refresh, but remember that that algorithm did roll out this week. If you need immediate help with triage for mobile friendliness of your site, give us a shout, and be sure to check out the resources that are already out on the blog. As always, if you don't want to wait to sign up for that next webinar with Ken, you'll be able to sign up for that via portant.com, or you can use the webinar tab on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/portent.marketing. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.